Hey, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
This is What If Geeks. We're here with the Loki series finale review. Uh, lots of almost nothing happened, but lots of happened. I guess. I don't know. It was kind of weird. Like almost everything happens in the Citadel at the end of time, so it was kind of cool that way. Or I guess you could say it was kind of quiet that way. But there's a lot of, I guess, backstory that's given in this. Kind of fills you in on what happened and how we got there and everything. It's kind of weird. So they get to the Citadel, right? And they get greeted by Miss Minutes. And it was like, he's okay. So she brings them to a corridor and a door opens up, and there's this dude just sitting there. And we know it's what's the actor's name, Eric?
The actor that plays Kang is Jonathan Majors.
That one, yeah, thanks, Jonathan Majors. So you see him because he's not like in any kind of makeup or prosthetics or anything. It's just him in robes. Now he does look. The robes look like a mortis.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that he's dressed like a mortis dressed in the comics, which is another variant of Kang. But he's just sitting there eating an apple. And it's like very anticlimactic at first. You're just like, oh, okay, it's just this dude sitting there chilling out. And Loki and Sylvie are kind of not understanding what the hell is going on. So he's like, well, come on, we're going to go have a talk. And he brings him to an elevator to go to his office. And I think twice they try to kill him. And he just teleports, however.
Yeah, some sort of weird phase shifting thing.
Yeah, obviously had something to do with time because he's Kang, but he shifts out of there and he winds up behind them. Do it again, and he winds up somewhere else, and he's just laughing at him like, "You can't kill him." He was like, "Sorry, you can't do it." So they go to the office, and he sits them down and talks to them about who he is and what he's doing. Right? Anybody want to take over?
Well, and I think what's really cool is the scenery of the Citadel is that Japanese art form where they repair broken things with gold. And so there's cracks all over the place with gold in the middle. And then as he starts to tell the story about he's from the 31st century and he was just a scientist and he figured some stuff out. And then he's describing it and there's this little bit of, I don't know what it is, ooze, whatever, and he can shape it into, right? So he's telling the story of the multiverse and how it happens. And he decided that he was able to connect to the hymns of the other multiverses, and he realized they weren't all good, and that this was going to be bad. So he decided to unify into a single timeline. So he's essentially telling the story that he's the Time Lord. And Loki and Sylvie are just sort of taking it all in, and he ends up with the ultimatum of, well, you can take over and you can run this whole thing, or you can kill me and then chaos is going to erupt and we'll just sort of see what happens. And eventually I'll be back here. Like, no way to tell how long it's going to take, but at some point I'll be back.
Right.
And so Sylvie wants to immediately just bum rush him with the sword. And Loki's like, wait, let's think about this.
Yeah.
And then, so they have it out. And ultimately Loki makes out with his female self.
I was wondering if that was going to happen. I mean, it seemed obvious, but it also seemed incestuous.
Right.
Yeah. But again, it's Loki, so if it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to him.
Yeah. And then there's just a lot of that sort of back and forth. And then we switch over to Mobius, who comes in on Ravonna. And he's got one of the pruning sticks with him. And they have it out, and their discussion is about why did she sell him out and double cross him? And she's like, no, you double crossed me. And they go into that whole long story. You feel like something more action packed is going to happen. She just sort of spin kicks him, drops him, and then opens a portal somewhere and dips.
Yep. Yeah. So who knows where she's going?
Yep.
Want to find the truth, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah. And then, really, when Loki and Sylvie have their discussion on what they're going to do, she opens a portal. Magic sort of blasts him through back to the TVA.
Yeah.
And then as he sort of gets out of the space he's in, runs down, finds Mobius and B-15, but they don't know who he is.
Yeah. Well,
then,
that part happens right after she actually does stab.
Right.
So, and as soon as she does that, you can see in the background through the windows and then across the TVA equipment, all the time branching
yeah,
off.
they're freaking out. And they're going past the red line, which was reported to us earlier in one of the episode 2 or 3, I forget which, that if a branch gets up past the red line, it was like the end of time and space or something like that.
Right.
And multiple branches are going way past the red line. And so we've been told that's super bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
So essentially what He Who Remains said was, if he's killed, they're going to restart the multiverse war.
Right.
So she kills him. And that's when Loki shows back up at the Citadel and or at the TVA. He finds Mobius and tells him, we got to do something. We've screwed up. And Mobius says, who are you? First, he says, aren't you a long way from accounting or something like that?
Yeah.
He thought Loki was dressed like an accountant. So Loki's like, what are you doing? Come on, we got to go. And then he's like, who are you? And then it pans outside, and there's a statue of Kang.
Yep. And where was previously the statue of the 3 Time Lords, now it's just Kang.
Yep.
Not in the full Kang getup, still in as we know him in the comics, right? Still in kind of looking as he did in the Citadel.
Yeah. So, all in all, and then that's it. It goes to credits, and then in the credits, we finally get same credits as always. You get the desk and the different things in the TVA, but at one point there's a file, and a stamp comes down, and then when it moves, the stamp leaves behind the words "Loki will return in season 2." So we know there's going to be a season 2 for this one, which is something that we've been talking about. We thought that this was going to be much like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it was going to be a one-shot deal. So I'm happy. I'm glad they'll come back and do another one because I really like this series.
Yeah, they certainly left it on a cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
Like any sort of time paradox, time travel thing, I'm a little worried that they're just going to throw them in a whole new timeline and have a whole completely different story. It's a little cheap, but
well, right, because at this point, the only two that really know what happened for as far as that timeline goes would be him and Sylvie. Everybody else, or at least in that multiverse that he got dropped into.
Right.
So now we'll have to figure out if he figures that out and finds a way back to the multiverse of the Mobius that knows him, or what. Now it's oh boy. Now we're getting all deep into it. But what I liked about it was when what was called Kang. When Kang talks about the different versions of himself. One, it was really funny because he said he ran into multiple versions of himself. And it was very self-congratulatory, like, hey, you look great. Oh, yeah. And he played it very fun. Like it was fun, but a little like I don't know, kind of like a Willy Wonka kind of thing, where he was like a little out of his mind from being by himself so long, you know. And he was like having a lot of fun with watching Loki and Sylvie argue with each other, like he didn't know what was going to happen. But this obviously, I mean, just from watching all those branches and everything, obviously is going to lead into whatever's going to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. This is where the multiverse, basically Sylvie started the multiverse war. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they sort of, I don't want to call him the big bad because they kill him, but he is also the big bad, right? But it's interesting to me how they borrowed from like a bunch of different comic story things and just sort of mashed them all together. Because he called himself, what is it? Him who remains, or what is the moniker? He who remains. Yeah, sorry. He calls himself He Who Remains, which doesn't have really anything to do with Kang in the comics, but
it's a decrepit old man, but I thought that was a version of Kang.
Oh, is it a version of Kang?
I don't remember. I thought that was a version of Kang, but maybe not. But in the comics, I remember it's just a decrepit old man.
Yeah, and then that storyline actually has everything to do with Thor and Jane Foster, not with Loki directly, anyway.
You do have Thor and Jane Foster coming in Thor: Love and Thunder too.
Yeah, but then they also presented because we had talked about a pre-finale, predicting things. Oh, it could be the Immortus kind of version of Kang who's killed off all his other selves or whatever. And trying to become the one, whatever it is.
Yeah, we weren't 100% wrong.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They borrowed from that too, and this guy kind of says, I'm the one who won the war of the Kang multiverse, right? And I'm the one who landed here. So they borrowed from that, but then he's also not the Kang at all that we were probably expecting, right? That's that, right? And so they let him be killed essentially after one episode, and then but also lead into the next Kang.
Right.
Maybe it's Kang the Conqueror,
right? Because that Kang could be way worse.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be, because like you said, it wasn't the Kang we were expecting at all, to the point where in the very beginning of it, when he was talking to them doing his thing, at least for a few minutes, I was kind of annoyed, and then he started to grow on me, and then I realized as he was talking and telling the story of the multiverse and how this is the only way to keep things the way they are, and it's going to get much worse, it clicked, and I was like, oh shit, I know what they're doing. And I was like, they're going to bring another one of him that's even worse. So then I was okay with it.
So you think they're going to reference this in the Doctor Strange movie?
Yeah, I bet. Somehow, some way. This is gonna open up all those multiverses. I think this is gonna be
the snap opened the multiverses, right? I mean, that's the sort of official canon here is it's the snap, right? Traveling back in time, doing all that stuff. That's what did it. This won't help.
Did they ever say it officially that it opened up the multiverse?
Well, it wasn't the snap, it was them going back, right? To try to
could be, yeah.
Get the stones or whatever and change the way things happen.
Yeah, that's how Loki found the TVA, because they dropped the Tesseract in his lap.
Right.
But no, because right after Endgame, when Spider-Man Far From Home came, we thought the snap opened up the multiverse with Mysterio, but then turned out he was just lying.
Right.
So now, whether or not he knew of a multiverse because of something, because it seems too convenient that he's talking about a multiverse, but there was no real multiverse, but now there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe he had through some type of magic, he understood there was actually a multiverse. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think the way they set it up in this, though, there is a bunch of multiverses and their branches, just like was described in Doctor Strange, right? Their branches off of the timeline you're in. But in this, they've set it up like TVA has been controlling those, cutting those branches off. That's why the term pruning is used.
Right.
So that there is only one universe that's sort of constant and and continuing.
Yeah, right. That's I understand that. I just mean like how Mysterio knew about a multiverse because he was just a guy, special effects guy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So somehow, some way, maybe he learned about a multiverse or something, or they'll just never address that at all, which is probably best. But I think this,
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a plot hole if we're being honest, because
yeah,
he shouldn't.
plot hole.
Well, I mean, I guess even people in modern day forget superheroes, but speculate about multiverses. So, being effectively a stage artist, I mean, maybe he just pulled it out of his ass for the show effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He made up the whole story for his backstory, but whatever. It's just a little bit of a sore spot for me because also now we're in the multiverse thing, and anyway, it's not a big deal.
Well, so I mean,
knowing that we're gonna get villains from other Spider-Man movies in the next one, that's a result of what just happened.
why multiple Spider-Mans, right?
Supposedly, the worst hidden secrets in the world. Yeah, yeah. They're like, no, we don't know anything. Yeah, they're all in it. But yeah, so I think that's definitely going to be a direct result of this, and then it leads further into Doctor Strange. So, I mean, Doctor Strange has a cameo in the Spider-Man movie. So,
yeah, well, I mean, he is. I don't know. He's a pseudo mentor for Spidey now, right? I mean, that's the.
Well, plus, I mean, he owes Spider-Man for saving his life too, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's correct. You made me lose my train of thought. It doesn't matter. It'll come to me. Multiverse. Oh yeah, I was gonna say we're also gonna see Kang show up in Ant-Man. That was confirmed. Ant-Man 3, and you talked about the quantum verse or whatever before, the quantum world. So who knows what they're gonna do? I actually like the idea that they didn't directly follow anyone's storyline and just kind of borrowed a bunch of stuff. And because we're beyond honest, I mean, the comics sort of retcon themselves all the time and reinvent the stories. And you may have a preference or whatever, but it's kind of neat to just sort of mash a bunch of different things together.
It is. I would say the only thing that makes me nervous about this goes back to our own, I guess, issues with when they swap gender and race for different people. Not for Kang, because I mean Kang's a purple guy in the damn comics, but he is also Franklin Richards, and this guy does say he's from the 31st century. So, sorry, Nathaniel Richards, right?
Nathaniel Richards, yeah.
Isn't that would make he's like Reed Richards' father, grandfather? I forget.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out in the MCU, but
from the 31st century. But I thought he was like Reed Richards' father, but then went forward in time somehow. I don't know. Weird. I have to go back and look. I don't think he's a descendant of Reed Richards. I think he's his father. But again, if you're gonna have the Fantastic Four, I think you got to keep them closer to their comic book counterparts. They tried it once with the last movie, and
I think no, I don't know. I think Reed Richards was his son. Wasn't that how it was?
Yeah, that's what I said. I think Nathaniel Richards is.
Was the father? Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Saying the same thing backwards.
Yeah. Same as you.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't necessarily matter that much. Like some of those.
He could have been an adoptive father.
Yeah, well, yeah, or just some of those tangential relationships. I feel like the MCU is just like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Let's talk about Magneto's children. I mean, yeah. So I don't know, man.
Well, okay, so he shares a name with Reed Richards' father, but apparently that Nathaniel Richards was born in the 30th century, so he couldn't be his father. Unless he came back in time and I don't know. Whatever. They'll figure it out.
They will. We'll be along for the ride.
Yeah. We'll say, he doesn't look like John Krasinski's dad, so I'm still holding out hope for that guy. But we'll see. I mean, they've done a bang-up job with this series, and I'm looking forward to season 2. I can't wait to see. Every phase they've had kind of like goes, like we said before, from you went from them fighting, like grouping together in the Avengers, right? Built up to the Avengers, and then they fought Loki. Then you find out that Loki's actually working for Thanos, and it gets bigger and bigger, right? They fight Ultron because they're trying to make something that's going to save the world from aliens, and then they wind up fighting Thanos and aliens anyway by the end of phase 3. So I'm wondering what this overarching thing is going to be with Kang. I mean, Kang's a nice start for phase 4, unless they're just going to do like each phase is going to be separate from now on and not an overall, you know what I mean, like trilogy of arcs leading up into something bigger. I mean, I guess you still could, and I'm just not seeing the bigger picture. But I think Kang's going to be, he's an interesting villain to have all across all the movies that we've got coming up right now, if you think about it. Because he can kind of touch on all of them. There's been versions of him against, Avengers. So you got Thor, Love and Thunder. He could be doing something there behind the scenes. Obviously, we know he's in Ant-Man. He's got something to do with what just happened, so leading into Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So it could be interesting going forward if he's the overall big bad for this next arc going through.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. At least by the end of phase 4, they've all got to come together and fix something with the multiverse or something. Because you got Guardians coming up too, right? Is that still within this phase? Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so. Can't find it. Yeah, it is. It's towards the end, but yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, out there running around the space, so you could have something there where they help out defeating Kang. And then I still say at some point they got to lead into Galactus, but I think you got to wait until you get the Fantastic Four in here for that.
You have to have that. They have to be booted up, and you not only have to do that, you have to redo Silver Surfer. So
yeah, you can't have Galactus without Silver Surfer. It'll piss me off.
That would be cool to defeat Kang, and say like at the end of Guardians, because they're out in space, they run into the
Fantastic Surfer go by.
Well, they run into the Fantastic Four, who have been out in space or whatever, and leads right into their movie. Yeah. I don't know.
To explain where the fuck they've been this whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Lost in space. Meet our robot.
Oh my god! If they bring back Herbie, I'll shoot myself.
Yeah.
For those of you too young to know what that is, just Google Herbie Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
He was a little robot that they put in the cartoon because they took the Human Torch out because they were afraid kids were going to set themselves on fucking fire.
And that's a real thing. They actually did think that was going to happen, and yeah. So they replaced him with a robot. And I thought it was current kids were dumb for eating Tide Pods, but
I was about to say that.
No kid actually was like, "Oh, I'll be the Human Torch."
Yeah. I mean, we played with matches, but that was about as far as it went. Jesus. All right. We got anything else on this one? That was pretty quick to the point.
Oh, you're making me worried that they're gonna put that robot in there now. Because doesn't he help the Fantastic Four hunt for Galactus? Isn't that like his whole purpose?
In the I think he showed up in the comics for a little while because of the cartoon. But
yeah.
I don't know.
That's not going to be a thing.
No. If anything, it's going to be a throwaway joke. Like, in the corner somewhere.
What, they'll make an old computer called Herbie or something just to.
The robot with sass that kicks fleshy ass. Oh my god.
All right. Okay. We have anything else on Loki? Because now we've gone over Herbie.
Yeah, go on a bender. No, I don't think so. I'm super excited for season 2. I'll just say that. And it looks like.
When's it drop? When it's gonna be?
Well, very unofficially, because there's no actual announcements yet. But it did show up on a production set list for January, so that's to start filming.
Right.
Which means, maybe the end of the year, maybe into the year 2022,
right.
Maybe in 2023, who knows? But I mean, it's not. Well, actually, that's a good question. Is it still considered part of the current phase, even though, because it's a season 2 of a series that was part of the current phase?
Right. Well, yeah, I guess as long as the phase is going on.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder if they will reference any of the stuff that happens in the MCU between, now that it's over and the start of season 2, right? So do you mention Shang-Chi or anything that happens in the Doctor Strange movie or anything in the Spider-Man movie?
Right.
But like that's the one thing that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was pretty good at, was referencing the MCU stuff, right? So the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. mentions the Battle of New York, right? And then at some point after Civil War, Winter Soldier and the breakup of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the show changes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle that one. I would say they're probably going to fit it in perfectly, because fucking Marvel, they've been doing an amazing job so far.
It's true.
Yeah, do we need to figure out how any of these other movies in this phase are going to tie into all this shit, or we'll just wait until later? Is there anything else bear mentioning as far as the rest of Phase 4?
I don't know. I mean, there's the one known appearance, which we already talked about, in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the end of it, but I mean, Loki can certainly show up in Thor: Love and Thunder. Although who knows? He's in another timeline now, so
right. Yeah.
I have no idea.
True. All right. Cool. Well, I guess then we'll just end this one. Oh, hey, yeah, by the way, congratulations to Tom Hiddleston for apparently topping somebody's Billboard charts. Is that song that he sings in Norwegian in episode 3 is an actual song that he put out on an album or whatever, and he's singing the whole thing and most of it in Norwegian.
Is that right?
And it topped some Billboard chart.
Cool.
People are loving it. So he's all over the place. He can do it all. All right. Well, you guys, let us know what you think of this series. If you're excited for season 2, what you think any of what happened in this series means for the rest of Phase 4 in the MCU. Like, subscribe, ring a bell. Hit us up at Facebook. What if Geeks whatifgeeks.com. What if Geeks at Facebook.com. What if Geeks at Gmail, Instagram, Twitter, all that happy shit. And we will catch you in a few minutes for our Black Widow review. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Mobius.
Good night, he who does not remain anymore.